Good morning, fellow travelers through life on Earth. Yellow overtone warrior today. I'm still in this delicious post-sleep observing silence. I look out the window and nothing moves. And yet I know the energy inside those plants is intense. It's March, mid-March, Northern Hemisphere, and we got spring. And it hasn't yet, the buds, yes, they're small. They're starting here, not full on yet. So from a distance, the bushes look as if they've been dusted with green powder, a touch of matcha. And that feeling when life returns, life was never gone. Sometimes I'm like, I think ANKH-er-de-LIGHT mentioned it once, that we never see a tree for a tree. We always only see our concept of tree or what we think about the tree. To really look at the tree when we don't think, or when we really remove what we think about it. For a moment, the attempt makes me feel a little almost dizzy on a very subtle level. And it reminds me of how deeply we live in concepts. The eagle yesterday, my apologies again for mixing up there. I thought it was guided by the storm. It was guided by the storm. So nice to look at it like that. Made so much sense. Which eagle is guided by the storm? Let's see. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, of course, I should have known so. 3, 8, and 9. 3, 8, and 13, sorry. Okay, today we're guided by, yesterday we were guided by the monkey. So I'm not going to reiterate that a lot, but reiterate, is that the right word? Bring that back. But this self-existing eagle, this mind, vision, create, and living in concepts, it's a totally different world if you believe or grow up, or if your concept or your understanding or your filter, whatever you want to call it, is every plant has its own, is a being with its own, well, it doesn't have to even have its own sense of self or consciousness or soul or whatever. It can be quite linked and connected, but it's alive. It's aware of you. It's aware of, to some degree, itself. Has some sort of consciousness, which I didn't grow up in that world. So for me, that's a bit harder to get to, how that would how that would really, really, really be if that were deeply ingrained. To me, that's a concept that I put on like a jacket. It's not like a concept that is a part of my skin. It's a very different world, living in that world versus, well, a plant is just a thing. Yes, it grows. That's the world I grew up in. It's alive in its own right, for sure. But that's where it ends. There's no relationship other than nice, I like green, relaxes the eyes, like it totally, I don't even want to bring any judgment into this, but it's a different world to live in. And this is, I'm not here to, I'm just saying concepts. Self-existing ego, the mind, our minds in our yellow human wave spiral, in our humanity, our minds form, measure, and define. The mind defines the world. The body experiences it, but the mind, and there can be quite a clash. There can be quite, and yeah, eagle and serpent are each other's antipodes, so they are, it's not about equal strength. I just looked yesterday, the serpent in this wave spell, it guides the second tone, otherwise it shows up in the wizard, tone 3. There's a succession of serpent in the wizard, in the eagle, and in the warrior, always, no matter what. And then we can have the serpent as a guide either before, like this, on the second day, on the Skywalker, or on the earth. So we can have 4 serpents in a row here. If we don't, we always have 3. On the other side, it's the same with the eagle. We have the eagle in the seed, followed by the serpent. Eagle is in there permanently, and world bridger. Eagle's in there permanently. Then we can have the eagle as a guide, either before to the night or following to the hand. And between eagle and serpent, part of that same family is the dog and the sun. They're the pole family. They're the guardians of all the others, and they are located in the crown chakra. The guardian of love, the limbic system, is the dog. The guardian of the consciousness is the sun. The guardian of the instinctual brain is the serpent, and the guardian of the, would it be the frontal cortex? It's the eagle. So there's more to it than that. I'd have to look it up now. It's not committed to memory. My consciousness, the sun. We are living in times of expanded consciousness, expanding consciousness. Expanding consciousness. What does that mean? Expanding consciousness. Can consciousness expand? Would it perhaps be, what if I say, what if I'm trying a concept? We are expanding awareness of consciousness. Consciousness and awareness can be I want to look something up. Sorry for the wait. It's always time to meditate. What is the difference between consciousness and awareness? Consciousness, it says, the God in my phone says, consciousness is a cognitive and dualistic process, whereas awareness is non-dual, spontaneous, and non-local. Says who? You know, there are always people also ask, what does Elon Musk think about consciousness? Is he becoming the go-to now? Okay. Okay. Consciousness is not the same as awareness. Again and again, it happens in the thinking. Consciousness happens in the thinking window. Awareness is now. I think personally there must be, but maybe I'm misunderstanding the concepts. Consciousness. What are those words? Wait, I want to get another thing here. Nope. I want a definition of consciousness, the state of being aware of. So what is the difference between awareness and consciousness? You're aware of consciousness. What? The state of being aware of and responsive to one's surroundings. One's surroundings. She failed to gain consciousness and died 2 days later. So then, in that case, I'd say it's like describing the effect of consciousness as observed by others. She may be completely conscious within herself, but she can't move her body and signal to us or have any brain activity going that signals her consciousness to us. So the state of being aware of and responsive to one's surroundings, in this case, is defined as consciousness, gaining consciousness. But that's limited to the biological functioning and signaling. Consciousness isn't limited to biological functioning or signaling, as we know. You can be quite brain dead and quite non-responsive altogether and be very conscious in there. So that shouldn't that be? Anyway, second one is a person's awareness of a person's awareness or perception of something. Her acute consciousness of Luke's presence. Synonyms: awareness of, knowledge of. Synonyms up there are awareness, wakefulness, alertness. So wakefulness is a part of a skywalker. In the lunar position of the yellow human. Yeah, if you're not conscious as a human, consciousness is a challenge to the human. Very interesting. He didn't use the word consciousness. He used the word wakefulness. And it's very brilliant because the whole system is channeled. So there's not like, I don't think they sat there contemplating, should we use this word or that word, this word or that word. It was just given. Okay, then you have sensitivity to realization of, cognizance of, mindfulness of, perception, apprehension of, cognition of. An AI overview: consciousness is a state of being aware of one's surroundings, thoughts, feelings, essentially encompassing what it feels like to exist. It is a subjective first-person experience that includes sensory perceptions, emotions, and self-awareness. It serves as a continuous stream of experience, acting as a user-friendly but simplified and distorted view of the world to aid decision making. Core aspects of consciousness: subjective experience, private and unique for each individual. Awareness involves sensing both internal states, hunger, emotion, external stimuli, sight, sounds, and continuum consciousness, not just on or off, but ranges from full alertness to deep sleep or coma. Then we have scientific and philosophical, the role of the brain, key aspects of the definition: self-awareness, qualia, the subjective quality of experiences such as the perceived redness of a rose, functionalism. Well, okay, where am I going with this? I don't remember. The perception, we have awareness of how that changes the world we live in. The concepts, if we had them not, and how the mind, the ego, in the tone of self-existence, the way we see the world shapes the world we see. Raising awareness, expanding consciousness, expanding awareness of consciousness. If a tree is conscious, but we can't measure it, it's just like, who are we to say that if it doesn't show up in our measurements, it's not there? Okay, we're coming away from that. That's like kind of like old. Is that part of the old energy? That the world I grew up in, that was so rigid, so such really there was such, the science was so, and in pockets it still is, I suppose. It's like dogmatic. It's exactly the kind of dogmatic way, it's like religious dogma, medical dogma, scientific dogma. If you can't measure it, it doesn't exist. Instead of being a little bit humble and saying, well, we don't know. I mean, science should be 99% we don't know, and then 1% of maybe, and then 0.00000 sliver percent of we currently were sure of this. I like the world we experience is the full, it's like 100% access we have. But in terms of what exists, it's a sliver. Slither is what the snake does. Sliver, and nothing, a slice, a thin slice. And to expand consciousness, to expand awareness, to become aware of the more that there is. And that's always easier, in a way, apparently, after death. It's always easier after dropping the full body, dropping all the limitations, dropping all the concepts, going back into that whatever where we go when we die, and then returning fresh. Hence the occult to the ego, the world bridger. For a lot of us with concepts that start to get sticky, they start to stick and become rigid, breaking those open. That's where community is important, but if community becomes only self-fulfilling, kind of like only self-affirming, then nothing new comes in. That's why traveling is so important. And bringing our different opinions or different understandings or just different points of view, never mind truth, into each other's systems, because to me, I appreciate a different point of view, not for its truth value, occasionally also that, but usually just because it allows me to think along different lines, or opens up a possibility of, oh, that's possible to think. Like the classic case in point is flat earth. I was fascinated when I heard about that, because not because of its truth content, it's just like that was breaking open for me an unquestionable paradigm. Like I would never, ever, out of my own, I'm sure I wouldn't, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't, get to a place where I would question, is this earth really round? I wouldn't. It's such a given. It's such an unquestionable given. But when I, and the thing is, I didn't just hear about it. If I would just hear about it, that's what some people think, I would immediately dismiss it and not even give it a second thought. But it was the age of YouTube. So I went in and immersed myself for a while in their videos and all their proofs. And it was like, I was utterly fascinated. Now, personally, it cuts no ice. I live here, I move here, I have my doing, whatever. The earth moves through space, and if it doesn't, it doesn't really much affect my reality to think of it this way or that. But just I really appreciated having a concept in myself opened, as not that I should be questioning it, but that it can be questioned. You know what I mean? It's like, I love that. And it happens all the time. And now with the internet, we have access to people's points of view, to people's sense of humor, to so many things. It's such a, I mean, that is expanding our consciousness, that is expanding our awareness, that is opening up our what are they? Well, views of other people, other cultures, maybe rigid paradigms, maybe prejudices. It's like we get a view into each other's cultures on such an intimate level, on such a people area. I mean, people make these videos from within their homes, from all over the world. What disturbs me a little bit is the AI videos, like where they're obvious, like this is what animals really, really, really wouldn't do or couldn't happen. I can appreciate the joke. I can also appreciate just like the addition again to the offering of experience or possibilities and fun and magic and whatever. But where it gets really confusing, I mean, I can, like where it's not obvious. I don't know, my mind is not at peace about that. But it is what it is now. Well, okay, yeah, my mind is seeing a problem here, because if, like this, I don't know, is there a problem? I don't know, never mind. It's still, we are expanding consciousness. So this is very yellow warrior, and he sits on tone 5 in this wave spell. Radiate command center. Radiate command center. Am I right there? Empower, command, radiance. The center always comes in Y. I don't know now. Radiance, command, empower, radiance, empower, command, radiance. Radiance. What is radiance? To radiate. Radiation. Ha! Let's go science. I mean, I love this connection between magnetic, tone 1, and then polarity, polarizing, tone 2, which stabilizes the system or the whatever, stabilizes the magnets, the polarity, the opposite stabilizes. Masculine stabilizes feminine. Feminine stabilizes masculine. Light stabilizes dark. Dark stabilizes. Yeah, it's like logic. Good stabilizes bad, which is why we maybe want to be mindful of what we're polarizing. And then the electric tone, electromagnetism, then the self-existing, the form-giving. We're starting to shape form. We're starting to form concepts, thoughts, things, frequencies, starting to form, and effects are starting to form. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And now we are radiation, electromagnetic radiation, empower, command, center, fearlessly questioning. Some of us believe, and what we believe we can prove very often. Blue monkey guided the eagle yesterday. So when we're forming our beliefs, which also happens on tone 4, self-existing, those beliefs, they take on a life of their own. They start creating things. Beliefs are powerful. They create within what we call reality. Today I really want to say we have to be super, like, whatever reality is really, what is really real, what does that word mean? It can only be real relative to something. Something can be real to you that is absolutely not real to me. Something can be real to all of us humans or all of us earthbound beings that isn't real to something not earthbound, or something that is real to the physical beings, third dimensionally, is not so real to something that isn't third dimensional, or vice versa. Like, what was it? Flatlanders. To them, the third dimension isn't real. It doesn't exist. It does not exist to them, but it exists, but it cannot exist to a flatlander. So, anyone doesn't know what a flatlander is, it's a two-dimensional being, a dot on a page, like a two-dimensional reality. You can move around along that one plane only. A third dimension, anything like above or below, is like what? It doesn't compute. It doesn't compute. And the expanded consciousness to a flatlander would be to gradually open up the awareness of the third dimension. And then we have the fourth dimension, which is what? Is that time? Is that, and then fifth dimension, it gets hairy. But we're radiating, we're empowered, we're commanding. Command. Do we command, or are we being commanded? If I believe, self-existing eagle, that my Wi-Fi radiation or electro smog has a negative effect on me, or a positive for that matter, it might be quite healing. I could introduce a whole new paradigm. Build healing centers under major power lines. You'd be surprised. Oh my goodness, absolutely, yeah. You want to make a lot of money? Go take that concept and run with it. Anyway, whatever we believe about it is going to affect us. And how do we come to believe about it? Someone who we give authority to, if we do it unconsciously, because we've just been programmed that way, it's self-existing ego in the human, to give authority to someone who sounds like they're knowledgeable, maybe scientific, experienced, and That's what school does to us. It doesn't teach us to question. It teaches us what is the word? I don't know. Follow someone, like be followers of someone else's truth or whatever. Like, you just take what the teacher says, what the textbook says, that's true. Children who question everything can be highly uncomfortable unless they happen to have a teacher who enjoys that. I had some of those, and I was really a questioner. Like, why is that? Why is that true? Anyway, so then we believe it, whatever it is. Religious beliefs, we have to be given those before we age 7, because then it's really easy to program our minds. Cultural paradigms, religious paradigms, all of that. You believe, you as a child, you don't have any option really to believe. Although some of us, even younger than 5, were like, no, there's something wrong here, or this is not true, because we can sense truth also. So we can sense where there's a departure from truth on certain levels. But the school system is very effective, because you get a bad grade when you don't, you have to just remember, and it's just like ongoingly. Anyway, never mind, let me not bash the school system, Tatiana. I want to say the self-existing beliefs and how they affect us. They affect the way we see the world, and can we question our own beliefs? If I, by whatever way I get there, believe electro radiation or Wi-Fi radiation affects my cells, and it may be so that measurements have shown, science is proving, because they're measuring. The question is, are these effects 100% true or not? And even if so, they may have measured always people who have not themselves asserted their own command over their bodies, to saying, my mind affects my body, not anything outside. To whatever degree we are actually capable of doing that. And it's a question of training. It's a question of, if there are these fakirs that can ingest really heavy toxic poisons that would kill any of us in a second, and they just pass it through their system and pass it out, it doesn't affect them at all. It tells us something about us. So the how do we use our minds? This eagle, the analog wave spell of the human, is the wave spell of the blue hand. Let me be very sure I'm saying the right thing. Yeah. The blue hand, knowing, accomplishing, healing. That's it. What should influence your health if you know otherwise? If we know we heal through our consciousness, we heal through adjusting the blue eagle, the self-existing eagle, we heal through adjusting the mind. The eagle is attached to the serpent. We can also heal through adjusting the body. Many modalities of healing. There's so many modalities of healing that do not include toxins, that do not include addictions, that do not include dependencies on a system, a person, anything, and that do not in time make us sicker. And that is an essential part of our evolution, because what we're doing now, what we're exploring here, we are raising our awareness to the solutions we're being offered out of a certain sector causing more problems. And that, yes, some solutions are very valuable, but there are much more powerful solutions that will have the same effect. And I once again recommend Malo Morgan's Mutant Message from Down Under. Where the Aborigines show her even how they heal a broken bone. So talk about surgery. And if once we can really access our DNA, we can regrow our teeth or just have them maintain balanced health throughout the life cycle. And if that, whatever is in the DNA, if we're saying we're going back to Jonah, 800, 900 years, and that's a short lifetime. But if we're going back to that, or not back to that, whatever, can we do it with one set of teeth, two sets of teeth? Or do we need to repeat childhood regularly, lose them all and regrow them all? Well, maybe we get to decide. But that would be so much more elegant than what's happening right now around our teeth. And of course, sugar intake and dental health are a core aspect. So knowing how to care for the body, but also allowing for flexibility in terms of we always living in a certain time where certain forces act on the body. Now, to whatever degree, however, I'm shifting levels now, but from a not totally physically enlightened state where nothing really affects your body other than your own will, which is not ego. It's the divine. But what is the will is always, there is no difference. There's not really any difference between the ego will, in my view, and the divine will, because the divine is everything. So if you have an ego, then that's very fine for the divine. That's part of the system, and whatever the ego wills, it's part of the system. Higher self, lower self, the higher self will, lower self will. It's all very hairy. But where am I going? For the regular Joes like us here, we have certain things influence us until we understand maybe they do, and then we can override, or maybe I don't know. Oh man, this is difficult. Yeah, free choice, healing modalities. I kind of gotten lost in my own web of thoughts here. I'm gonna just go back to. I feel like a phone or a computer. I remember, either my Android or my jailbroken iPhones. It would regularly crash. Oh yeah, Android. Then you get this little green Android man, and he wouldn't move. Like stuck, can't open your phone, can't close it, and you have to do this total reset. And then you get this little menu, and you can choose something. Windows does that, used to do that too. I don't know if it does that still. And you have to reboot to the last known configuration, working configuration, whatever. Why does it not do that by itself? I mean, I don't know. There must be a good reason. Maybe for the geeks, they can go into a developer mode and say, no, 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 I'm going in there to fix the problem. You don't, yeah, whatever. So, you see, as the iPhone judge, I think that's better that system that the system just boots itself automatically. Oh man! But I ask myself in my own body, because now here I am. Where am I going? Sidetracking myself again. Blue hand. Yeah, same. It's the same point whether I talk about rebooting these gadgets or whether it's about rebooting ourselves, consciously turning ourselves off. Blue eagle, turning off concepts that we can't question. Very difficult. Very difficult. And then we do, like, so where am I going? Oh, that's why we need each other to sometimes question, is this true? Is this like, is your train of thought, even logic, the way we think logically, if he does this to me, that means he feels this way about me. And it's like, sometimes we can't even question the logic. And when we break open the paradigms and these kinds of logic systems that we live in, it gets for a moment extremely confusing. At least that's my experience. Not always, but sometimes. Because now suddenly that's like if the flatlander really knows his own two dimensions, expanding into third dimension seems like, okay, that's worth an exploration. And the dimensional shifts, they happen post, whatever. Post yellow human, I was going to say in the circle of 20, but I'm not sure that's true. But I mean, the dimensional shift, it affects your biology. A flatlander has a two-dimensional body. If you now open up the third dimension for him, it will affect his body. At first, he can only go to the other dimensions through his mind, and that's difficult enough. But eventually it'll affect his body, because eventually he's gonna, if the third dimension exists, he has to get a third dimensional body that will affect his biology. And I believe we are exactly in that process. In spiritual circles, I guess that's what they call the ascension process. It's the body becoming, I don't know if the body becomes multidimensional, if it's always been multidimensional. We're just unlocking our awareness, our consciousness to what has always been there. It's an easier way to look at it than to say the body has to transition. Like, for me, it's easier to think the flatlander has always been in third dimensions, but he didn't know it. He hasn't been aware of it. He hasn't lived it. It hasn't been a part of his experience. And once he realizes he's always had a third dimensional body, it's softer. For me personally, my mind assumes this is a softer way around it than having to expand his 2D into 3D. But there are symptoms for us in our bodies when going into this multidimensional physiological being. I assume this would be the light body process. There are symptoms, and they're not always comfortable. And they're mental symptoms, and they're not always comfortable at all. So we need the eagle, we need the warrior on tone 5 in this wave spell. Really, really, really important. And going backwards and forwards in time, right? Remember? So we have the help in this process. First of all, I mean, every tones 1, 2, 3, 4 form this warrior, this conduit of light. What is light? What are we made of? What is our biology ultimately made of? Something that is no longer physiological, something that is not limited to 3 dimensions. And when we enter that quantum field where we can instantly change anything in the 3rd dimension, that is a shift that I believe Crowley says humanity has never been there. It's never done that. We've never been here. And it's good. I don't know if we can do this process alone. If you do, maybe you go insane because you can suddenly be so different. For me, I think I could interpret some quantum jumping that I've done as in the next day because I don't know, maybe if it's done only in part and part of me remembers and then it's like I'm confused. Parts of me are confused. But I'm not sure I'm talking crap. Maybe it's like a half a quantum jump, but not really, or I don't know. This part of my mind has all the options open and doesn't really trust. There's a doubter to what I'm saying because I have no hard proof. And this part of my mind says, okay, but wait, if I bring in the philosopher, says I can still put up hypotheses. It's okay to do that. It's a hypothesis. That maybe I've done some kind of, I don't know if a quantum jump would necessarily include all of me so thoroughly that there couldn't be any doubt, because with the change of superposition that I can do in a heartbeat, everything changes. There can be basically not even a recollection, but at some point I remember asking specifically, I want the recollection. I want to know that I've done this. I want to remember the old version of me, because I realized I think I'm quantum jumping and I don't know that I'm doing it because there's a shift in me that I'm not aware of, because once it's shifted, I've shifted timeline to a being that has always been this. I have no recollection of having done the jump because of how. And I specifically asked, can you build in memory? And then I realized, or I was told, whatever you want to call it, that process is, for me, it felt like this is again like difficult because memory is attractive. Memory is like to remember something. There is a period in time where to remember something means to attract yourself back into that state, because especially physiological memory. I wake up this morning, I remember myself from yesterday in every way that memory can happen. So the danger or propensity or magnetism or invitation or likeliness or whatever it is that through the memory I become who I was, and therefore remain unchanged, because the memory of who I was for 365 days is stronger than this newborn that I am today. And instead of me releasing all of my memories for a time and just exploring who am I today, engaging live, white wizard, electric wizard, taking us back, we've just been there, receptivity, timelessness, enchant, to be receptive and enchanted with my present moment experience, present moment experience. It's a serious paradigm shift, but I also believe that it's enough if we do this occasionally, or if we have an understanding that that is part of the that is where we access the now, is the only place we have to live. It's the only space, it's the only time, it's this now, and we experience. If I move my hand through space, I move my hand through time, but I do not have to be affected by time. All the concepts we lay into time when it comes to change, when it comes to aging, when it comes to deterioration, when it comes to all kinds of effects that we place upon ourselves. The heavy hand of time. Oh, shame. No, please. That's old. Drop that. Like the eternal now, the rebirthing. Every rosebud, every flower bud is the same fresh newness. It doesn't matter how old the bush is. And someday the atoms are going to say we're no longer going to be rose bush. And just because the bush can be all gnarly and looking different to whatever, that is its expression of its divine. It still produces these flowers. And I feel that as humans, we're kind of locked, not globally, not all of us, but some of us are locked into this paradigm of aging and deterioration and something that is really ready to be overhauled. I am on about that because I think it's really important. It's not like a fear of dying. Dying is the most delicious thing ever. we would be doing it all of the time if we were consciously remembering how beautiful that is. There's a reason we forget, so that we stay. And someone has made us afraid of it. Like, drop that. There is an in-between. That is a polarity. Like the fear of death, I believe really also, and and then the opposite is a fear of life. Those are two polar opposites. They somehow linked. And they cause stiffness. They cause it's like trauma. As a child, maybe you were so alive and then you got beaten up and traumatized and froze, and then this life force starts to vibrate on. I'm afraid to live because somehow my aliveness leads me into trouble. I get punished, but I'm also afraid to die because somehow I learned that, I don't know, whatever. So then we stiffen. Our fascia doesn't get hydrated enough. Our whatever, there's like all kinds of consequences. Different people deal with it in different ways. So neuroplasticity tells us anything is changeable anytime. And for me at the moment, I'm often coming up against the barriers that say you're not going to change this. You're not going to allow yourself more aliveness. And those are, I think, I give a hypothesis that this is ancestral programming. This is exactly this. You are not going to. You are not going to be free. You are not going to think what you want to think. You're not going to say what you're about to say. You are not going to speak your truth because it's going to get all of us into trouble. So much of that in our ancestral field. So much of that. So much of that. Where has it gotten us? Collectively. We are collectively displaying the karmic consequences of that. That's what I see. That's how I see it. There's many ways to see it. And I appreciate every point of view because, like, really, I like my paradigms being shattered or poked holes into because I need those holes. Sometimes they are leaks and they're not so good. But then my raising consciousness will grow in awareness and like, oh, there's a leak. You should patch that up because leaking your energy not so good. So my personal experience of where I would like to bring more fluidity, more, and it's happening. Make no mistake. So there's a energetic, the electric wizard with me really is working, because I say, there's this concept of metacognition. Yeah, it came to me twice yesterday, interestingly, and metacognition, like really important to the ability to self-analyze. And this is the relationship between eagle and wizard in a way, because you can overthink, but you need to analyze appropriately. And you can also be kind of like locked in your own internal loops and not realize you're like the echo chamber, you've actually got faulty things in there. So you should regularly share your cognitive processes with someone of equal ability or something, because otherwise somebody's just going to tell you that's all wrong, because equal paradigm, to not to get validation from outside, but to get validation from outside, not to get like, just to see that you're not just looping in your own. It's like the DNA. If you're living in a village and the DNA only reproduces its own, that becomes inbreeding in time. It's not very good. It's not very good for the genetic expression. We need genetic mixing up, and it's happening all over Europe now, and it's great. We should embrace that. We should really embrace that. Like, say, this is going to be such a genetically diverse and strong humanity in the future. They're gonna have a lot of, like, whatever. It's going to be very beautiful. A lot of curly hair. And when, to me, I would have, if I ever thought of being someone else, when I was a small child, I wanted to have Chinese eyes. I always wanted to have squint eyes. I found them the most beautiful eyes. I try to fall asleep, stretching my skin, thinking that if I hold it long enough, it's going to become that. Because I was told if you watch TV long enough, you're going to get square eyes. So I thought, well, if I hold my skin, I'm going to get like Chinese kind of eyes. Yeah, okay. But later on, I always wished if I could be one thing, I would have chosen to have one of my parents to be brown skin, because I love the light brown and the mix of white people's hair and black people's hair, like that. Whatever comes out, like, it can be quite coarse and quite soft, but it's always like exciting. I don't know, I love it. I would have always wanted that. Wild. So this mixing, so we need that in our cognition as well. We need that to raise our consciousness. It's what the internet does for us. Of course, there are a lot of pitfalls and but that too, there's these challenges. When when the tone 2 opens up, magnet is really just you and yourself. It's very within yourself. It's within the one. But then to realize everyone is a magnet. Suddenly, you want this, somebody else wants something else, I want this. How do we reconcile our different needs, our different wants? Or I want this and you want this and there's only one of this, so how do we do that? Now we work together with that one so that you have it and I have it. There's only one car, but there's two of us. So we get to share. Sharing resources. That's the lunar tone, always like, how do we stabilize the challenge of whatever the challenge may be when there is different attractive forces, and then It creates electricity, it creates motion, it creates stability of its own kind, it creates community. A community of a relatively small community only needs one lawnmower. Not every garden has to have its own lawnmower. You can share the lawnmower. It makes so much more sense, you know. And this is maybe what the WHO wanted to say to us in the future. You own nothing and you'll be happy. It's like shared resources. At the moment, it's like as long as there's this kind of like evil Knievel, like you're dependent on us because you have to pay for everything. The monetary system is a bit of a, there's still too much sort of slave energy in it. If you can't go off grid, if you can't be independent of it, you know, like, then it's a bit of a problem. But we'll solve that. Essentially, renting things or not needing to own but being able to use and return or something like that it's a nice system. Of course, we need the human software. At the moment, we have a lot of humans who, like, if they don't own it, they don't care for the object, then they treat it badly. We need the human software that says, we're all using this lawnmower, so I better use it, I better treat it well, you know. So that is a collective. I come out of the German paradigm, and now I'm for a moment appreciating that, because Germans used to be, I'm not sure that they still are, but the German world I grew up in was, people cared, maybe obsessively, there's always an extreme, you can go too far anywhere, but they cared for their material things. You know, like, they built things to last, and then people who own those things tended to care for them, you know, because you're fixing nowadays, like, everything's dispensable. Just like, buy it, use it, throw it away. It kind of like causes so much trash on the planet. It's a bit of a problematic system. So the future will be a balance, a different balance. We fix, we maintain, and we create this, you know, like, so what am I saying? That's all like this fractal. And in my own body, when we get next wave spell to the serpent, we again going through these tones. What electrifies the body? There will be the lunar world bridger, and then the electric hand. So it'll be very interesting to see, well, okay, this is happening inside my body. For me, for some people, you know, we all have our different attractors and attractive forces, and maybe the galaxy and galactic forces and extra whatever certain planetary systems are really communicating with us and calling us, and that's our do. For some, it's like, no man, building cars is calling me. For some, it's no, the earth and growing food is calling me. Whatever. For me, I'm like, what's calling me is like, how does this body work? How does this body mind system work, that it can really optimize functioning and be healthy? What is my part in it? Where am I interfering? Where should I let go and allow the influence from where exactly? From outside of me? Where is outside of me? Outside my body? Does that outside even exist? From inside of me? Where is inside of me? My thoughts. Are my thoughts inside my body? Are they outside my body? The quantum field? Where's the quantum field exactly? It's everywhere. It's inside everything, everywhere. So the center, the Hunabku, is said to be, it's everywhere. That's why through the sun, they say only the sun and the dog have access to the Hunabku. The direct access is the link of love. It's access with love, through love. And I have a lot to say about that. Like the buds in spring. No, wait, Tatiana. That's your own story. Leave it. Okay. So, radiate command center. We have this in us. Whatever that means, we have this direct access through our consciousness. And what does that mean? You know, in the wave spell of the warrior, the sun is on tone 5. In the wave spell of the sun, the seed is on tone 5. And this circle of 5 is the yellow is it called it's not a chromatic something else, but all the yellow, you know, like it just like I just kind of like I see it and it's just overwhelmingly beautiful. So, but I want to like bring it home to the human, bring it home to practicality. The ability to question is important. The ability to change is important. I run with the concept because it's beautiful, because it works for the time being, but we need, you know, it's one of the problems with religion is that it generally doesn't, at least as far as I understand, some of the three major religions on our planet, they don't allow terribly much. Okay, Judaism, I don't actually know. But where religion becomes dogma, let's put it that way, is where it no longer allows questioning. Where it doesn't, you know, and that's where it becomes dysfunctional as far as I'm concerned. And that's where it becomes a lock, a prison, and it actually it's no longer alive. Life is emotion. Life is change. But we also need stability. So that tone 12 is complex stability. In this wave spell, that's Blue Night. So that's like, oh, that's for another day. Abundance. Everything is possible. But we need to stay. I often, this, where to stabilize. And I said it earlier, when I come up against this program that says, I'm blocking you, then I'm not in command. I can't radiate past that. That's like a wall. And it's within me and it shuts me down. So I don't know who I am that says it shuts me down, because there's also the I that observes that process. And I'm really deeply invested in that process at the moment of in observing that metacognition and seeing how I trip myself up and how I got into this the other day. It's a security system that says you're not going to go further here. You will not achieve. I will not let you. I will not let you. And I say this often, to me, a lot of the hacks and many work, you got to try them. I'm at that point where, what if nothing works? You've tried it all. Or for me, it's like, I can't get myself to do that thing that I even believe it will work. And that is exactly the problem, because it works. Something in me says no. And to understand, because my experience is, to a degree, until I become conscious of what is behind it, it controls me. It controls an aspect of me. And I'm very often, right now, I'm looking at this and I'm it's hard for me to even fully, but wait, now I'm even myself in that space of yeah, but it's just easy to dissolve, or it's actually dissolving in front of my eyes, because this level of consciousness has the healing ability to adjust that. It is on that level where the warrior and the eagle and the wizard and the skywalker and the human can go all the way back to, I'm going to go there, wait, human, then through the monkey, through the dog, through the moon, through the star, arrive at the hand, blue hand. Tomorrow's antipod, wizard's analog, and this is the analog way of the blue hand. It's going, we will go backwards. It moves forwards too. We're going backwards. This is going backwards and forwards. There we arrive at the healing this way from the warrior, for example. And this warrior is analog to, brain says, blue knight. Interesting. Oh. Who is guiding this blue knight today? It has to be, oh wait, who's guiding the warrior today? The seed. So the blue knight, that requires some computation. I'm lazy to make right now. The monkey. I was hoping it'd be the hand. No, it's the monkey. Interesting. Wow. But in any case, we're going back to this healing and knowing. Healing my own blocks through my consciousness, through investigating fearlessly into the system. I do my own quantum healing. And once I've set this up, it does become self-existing. I can reverse time, going all the way back to the storm. That's how we do it. We reverse time. Oh man, this is so fucking awesome. I love this process. This is entirely, I do not know if this is entirely mental or if I'm actually in the field working this thing. But right now, I feel, it feels as if I'm doing a little bit of both. I'm in analysis mode and I'm understanding it and I'm feeling it and I'm seeing it. Very often in my day, I come upon that block. And now I want to program into that moment because it's going to come again. I've decided. Can I treat that? I want to massage that fear of change that is so old karma. It's part of the hardware. It's become part of my fucking hardware, software, sticking fascia that can't move, no fluidity, no change, no blib blib, that says you don't get to go there because that will cost you, that will cost all of us. It won't only cost you. You are not the only one to pay for the consequences of your actions. It will cost the community. It will cost the family. It will cost whoever beyond just yourself. And those are the strongest. Why during Corona did they always say, they hammered us with, you have to take care of others. Your action affects others. That is the strongest programming. AIDS. A lot of people were like, yeah, you give it to someone else, HIV. I lived in Africa. Hey, during that AIDS crisis. If it's not over there, they're still milking that cow over there. But in any case, it's like a lot of that mind over there said, yeah, but I'm not afraid of dying. I'm gonna die anyway. And it was prevalent. I don't know if that's like changed, but it's like, I mean, on the level of truth, yeah, it's built into us to care for one another. It's completely wrong that that we live in this each for themselves. We are deeply, deeply compassionate beings. Human beings are. Maybe some of us aren't. Duality. Who am I to assume? Why do I assume that we're all the same? Okay, some of us are maybe not at all. We don't care. We're just all about ourselves. But many of us are not. Oof, that's a paradigm shift for me to think that really there are humans who really, really are programmed so differently. But they're logically, yeah. Okay, but to those of us who are not, okay, we care deeply. And when we get told this this is how to take care of others, or we get told if you do this or don't do this, it's negatively going to affect others. And if that is based on a lie, oh man, but in any case, never mind. But I just want to go to the programming itself, and in our collective karma, and definitely in my personal karma, there is, or programming, there is that your choices are going to affect everyone. And if living my truth means leaving my community, it's like some can do it. The Sigmas of this world, they're anyway not such community creatures. But for many of us, it means leaving who we love, leaving security, of course, community, leaving. It's drastic. So all of it is woven in and kind of like sticky, and it's ready to break open, ready to find a new solution, ready to find a new paradigm that says, I can either have it both, I can find a new way of living that will have me be who I am, get to live my truth, say my say, explore myself, explore unthinkable options without hurting anyone, of course, whatever, and not be expelled from the community, not be judged, hated, excommunicated. I can still remain part of the, group. I can stay Muslim, but I can explore Christian beliefs or other spiritual practices, whatever, I can stay a medical practitioner and be part of the medical practitioner community, but I can really explore these weird ass alternatives that are out there that seem to be working. So we don't have to leave. Sometimes we have to leave one to become or be the other or be ourselves. Sometimes certain environments are not conducive, but sometimes we can find a solution that meets all the needs, at least for a time. Maybe that's a bridge, world bridger. Maybe eventually we realize, okay, now I'm actually ready to go full on into quantum healing. I'm going to leave all the white pills. I'm going to go full on into electromagnetic healing or whatever. I'm going to leave that world behind altogether but yeah, I've landed in the desert, but I'm deeply content over here, feeling the warm sand beneath my feet and the warm sun above my head. I have an oasis behind me. I'm just going to sit here in the desert for a while until it gets too hot and too uncomfortable. Actually, I'm going to sit under a palm tree because I don't want to burn. But I'm going to wait it out until the instinct to move tells me where to go and what to do next. How long have I been? 1 hour 18, shorter than yesterday. I wish I saw a beautiful, free day to flow. I didn't talk about the musketeers. I'm just going to mention that. The world bridger is the antipod, furthest away, very important. Gotta be able to die, gotta be fearlessly able to let go of concepts and know the truth will prevail. We can't really lose. Oh, I've just spoken about that. And then the serpent in the occult, our body, our instincts. We have major fears locked into our instincts. I've just elaborated on that, the way I meet those blocks. They always come with fear. Because once I start rattling that cage, my whole system screams out in panic almost and says, don't. This is dangerous what you're doing. And little by little by little, step by step by step, breath by breath, moment by moment, I bring in the new. I may have to still do a drastic death experience and return from it. Bring in my own conscious NDE and believe that I will make the choice to return, because I always have that choice. And not be afraid of it. But I can't also sustain my own body if I stay at that place of fear too long. I'm enforcing it. I'm strengthening the walls. And I haven't quite come right with that. I think I may have inadvertently strengthened my walls. I may be doing it still. This is also something I want to program into my warrior fearlessly, to not strengthen my fears by fearlessly staying afraid too long. What you energize, you strengthen. So how to massage the pain just enough to release, to bring in release and not more pain, not strengthen the pain. That's the golden, that's the what is that? That's the gold. That's the, I don't know what, the word doesn't come to me now. Maybe it's a German concept I'm looking for. All right, time to meet the day, but I'm going to sit under my palm tree for a minute now. How will I look forward to that? All right, I wish you a beautiful day. See you tomorrow. Oh,